Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the new hero, uh, Anze. His first of all, I want to say his model is absolutely fucking fire. Like, if I saw this in like real life, I'd be running the other way. Like, this looks insanely good. Actually, I want to compare him to this guy. See who's got a better scythe, or is it? Wait, there's no way they just use the same scythe, right? So it's like bony with an eye. I do like that scythe a lot, to be honest. There's no way it's the same scythe. Okay, this bit's the same. This bit's the same. It's just they've changed the where they meet. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about Anzi, and then we'll go over like kind of the stat requirement, like what you need to reach minimum and the best way to get to it. So we start with basic. What we'll do, we'll read through the kit without exclusives, and then we'll read through the kit with the exclusives in, and we'll look at his resonance as well. So deals 110% attack damage to all enemies and is guaranteed to inflict severe wound on main target for 2 turns. Basically, without reading the rest of his kit, this one ability makes it so he replaces Jenny in every single D&D or DD direct damage bosses where you're required to inflict feebleness, severe wounds, sorry. So they are, there's only two of them to be fair. It's the Seven Sagas one and the Purgatory one. Both of them require you to have severe wound on. For the Seven Sagas one, if you don't have severe wound, you take 60% crit damage, reduction permanently on your top three damaged, top three on your three heroes that dealt the most damage. And in Purgatory, if he does not have a severe wound, when he casts his second special, so his third ability, he'll heal 50% of his health and heal 50% of the minions missing health. So basically, if you have that go off once, your run is done. So he basically, and with Jenny, she has a cooldown 3 for her, so sometimes it does get a bit dicey. So with this, you're basically guaranteed because you can basically spam basic until he hits. Oh, sorry, it's a guaranteed. So you literally just spam that on the turn before you're done. It hits. It's only on the main target, so you need to make sure you are targeting him, but it will guarantee the inflict severe wound. Special to them. So we're not going to read any of this until we do this, because these are only locked to down here. This one's locked to his resonance ability. So deal 2 stages of damage to single enemy. First stage deals 100% attack damage, not that great. But then you have removed all buffs from the target. So if you don't do the damage, you're still going to remove all the buffs. So say you're damaging, let's say, someone with Nord's immunity. You won't deal damage the first time, or you're dealing damage to Panda. You won't do damage to Panda when he has his immunity up. You won't do damage the first time, but you'll remove all the buffs. So your second stage of damage, which is a lot better. So if they the block debuff, effect resist up, immunity, you're getting rid of all of them. You're then going to do 260% damage. So it's a little bit more damage. And reduce the target centimeter by 50%. This second ability is very big for Seven Sagas because the boss requires you to when he enters charging, you need to reduce his turn meter. You don't actually reduce his turn meter, you just need to trigger reducing turn meter. And when you do, he loses charging. If he has charging and he casts ability that gives him charging again, he'll gain 2 stacks. Basically, you miss 2 turns off the boss. So instead of being max 20 bosses, 20 rounds, it goes down to the boss will take 18 rounds before he wipes you. So this is very good. So most people have Lydia for this. So now we have a character who does both severe wound and reduces target turn meter. So Lydia could get moved out for someone else, but he will definitely replace Jenny, and he'll be doing all of Jenny's roles and Lydia's role basically in the team. So very strong person to have in the team. Um, we'll do passive last because I like doing the abilities then the passive to see how it ties it together. So then we deal His second active, so this will have a cooldown of 3 turns. This will have a cooldown of 4 turns. Deals 300% attack damage to all enemies. Deals up to 60% mastery from enemies, excluding bosses. So at maximum, when we have this in, it'll be 90% mastery from all enemies, so up to 450% mastery can be stolen. We'll talk about when we go to this bit. We'll talk about that. So stolen mastery caps at 45% of self initial crit rate. Sorry, 60%. Stills up to 60%. Sorry, so you can steal 90% up to 90% off their mastery, but it caps at 45% of your self initial crit rate. So what that means is, say they have, let's say, 200% mastery, you can steal 180%, but it will only steal up to 45% of your initial self crit. So if you want to steal that 180%, you would have to have 400% self crit rate, which is basically impossible. So when we do talk about his stats, you're gonna want 200% crit rate. So that's why I said you're gonna steal 90%, because you're gonna steal 45% of 200 is 90. So you're basically still 90% of everyone's mastery. So which would be 450% mastery. And 25% of the stolen mastery will be converted into crit damage, which will give you about 112.5% initial additional crit damage. So when you cast this ability, you basically, so you had 200% crit damage, you now go to 312% crit damage. So it's quite a big crit damage, and you're reducing mastery team's damage also. So this only lasts for 2 turns though. When Resonance reaches the max level, replace it with Grim Reaper Resonance. So we'll look at that now. So select an enemy as the main target and inflicts Hasten Death. So that's where Hasten Death here comes from. Hasten Death then is records 50% of damage taken. So similar to Afsara, where she records damage taken, here record it, but you only record it on one enemy. So if you're against a boss with Apsara and Hasten Death, and Apsara is in her resonance form, you're looking at recording 150, no, yeah, 115% of your damage. So it will double and a little bit more damage you do if they're both on the same team. So it's very good. So 2 turns. If the target race has haste and death, the recorded damage will be settled first, and the will be inflicted again. Afterwards, deals 300% attack damage. Consider as resonance damage. That doesn't do haste and death, no. Did as resonance damage. So it's another resonance source, but it's a DD one, so it's a bit dicey when you're coming to some resonance on Marius, for example, because you have quite a lot of direct damage dealers. You would have Apsara and him, they're both AoE, so yeah, it's a bit dicey. So deals it to all enemies and steals up to 60% mastery from the enemies. The stolen mastery caps. So we've already read this, but this bit doesn't change. So when hasten death ends, deducts HP by the same amount of the recorded value from the target, then clears the recorded value and the resonance points owned by self. So what this means is basically as soon as he hits max resonant points, you'll cut one of caster's ability straight away. You can't gain resonance points, I don't believe. Yeah, you can't gain resonance points. He won't spend them when he does it because he doesn't enter resonance mode. What he does is he has, if you look here, he just has this resonant point. It just is the grey one. So if we look at her, for example, see her resonant enhancement when he is this resonant point. So he never enters resonant enhancement mode, which is uh interesting. So what that means is he'll reach his points he'll stay at his points for 2 of the enemy's turns. And then then all his points go, so he'll get just started back to 0, and you'd have to build up back to his resonant point limit. So we look at the resonant point limit then. So that is 20 here. So he gains crit damage equal to self-owned part over 100% of the crit rate. For every 1% crit rate exceeded, increase self-crit damage by, and then this actually boosts up to 2.8%, and this will boost up to 280%, can be increased. So that's very important. So every 1% over 100% will gain you 2.8% crit damage up to 280%. So if you have over 100, so if you have 200% crit rate, which is the maximum where this comes into effect, it will be gaining 280% crit damage. Very important for his exclusive one. So max limit resonant point is 220. When an ally deals damage to an enemy, he gains 1 resonant point during the turn of any unit. Anze can only gain 1 resonance point in this way through each enemy. When resonant points reach a max limit, replace Grim Reaper with Grim Reaper Resonance. So there's one thing I actually want to try. We'll look at its exclusives now. So we'll go here. Probably better doing it. Okay, so exclusive 1 comes here. So when the battle starts, for every 25% crit damage owned by Anze, currently gain 1 more resonance point. So 25%, we want to get 20 points at the start. 25 times 20 gives us 500% crit damage. To get 500% crit damage, oh, that's very hard. It's not that hard with his kit. So all you need is 200% crit rate, 220% crit damage. So what you're looking at from his base skills, you need 70% crit damage, 195% crit rate. So what that means is you basically every stat needs to have crit crit rate, as it's basically you want to roll into crit rate, only roll into crit rate until you get this 200%. Exclusive 2. So when Anze deals damage to an enemy for the first time, deals an extra damage by 200% of self attack. So each time he deals damage to any enemy, first time, so he triggers for each enemy, you deal 200% of self attack. But like, okay, that's a little nice bit of damage. However, after you cast Grim Reaper Resonance, this one, the effect can be triggered again, and Devour Life will be cast to the main target 1 time. So you trigger this on the main target, you record the damage, do all this, you steal the mastery. Then, with the crit damage boost, he'll then cast this. So he'll remove the debuff, move the buff, deals damage, and he reduces turn meter. However, now we go into the free. So after dealing damage to an enemy with hastened death, so he inflicts hastened death with his Grim Reaper Resonance, which will then trigger Devour Life. So you're guaranteed to get this bit if you trigger it from Grim Reaper Resonance. He will inflict feebleness and paralyze are guaranteed to be inflicted. So if you cast Devour Life either when he has hastened death or through passively when he does Grim Reaper Resonance, you will inflict feebleness and paralyze 2. We all know what feebleness 2 does. Paralyze 2, however, though, is increased dot damage taken by 40%. So it's basically the counterpart to feebleness 2. So that's for 2 turns, guaranteed. So can't be resisted by effect resist. It can be resisted. I don't think it can be resisted by block debuff either, because I think it's similar to. Let me just see the wording of. Because I know that Rista's AoE can't be blocked. Not be blocked by enemies. Yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll actually try that out in a sec to see if it can be resisted by people with block debuff or not. We'll set that up. So we are looking at you now. Okay, Then each time Anze replaces Grim Reaper with Grim Reaper Resonance, he gains Quelled Soul while the skill is cast. Quelled Soul, immune to control effects inflicted by heroes up to 3 times. That's why it's important to have the 4% crit damage at the start, because basically what that means is at the start of the battle, he gains 20. Now I just need to check if it's on his turn or not. No. So as soon as he hits that 20 resonance point, it automatically changes. So that means he automatically will go gain to Quelled Soul. So he'll be immune to, I don't know why it doesn't shoot there, but he'll be immune to the first 3 troll effects inflicted by the enemy, which is very big. It basically means Narsil can't do anything. Gazelle can't do anything. Santa can't do anything. Provoke can't do anything. Hypnotize from Elise can't do anything. The Provoked from Reina can't do anything. The first 3 though. So if you hit 4, so if you go Narsil, Gazelle, Reina won't trigger on either of them because he won't be inflicted with it. Then you do Hypnotize, or you get the Panny in. So those 4 people. So against the CC team, I'm not sure how viable it will be. Obviously, the Narsil. You'll take the Narsil, so you won't have the uncleansable one, which is very key. Normally next to go is Elise, so you'll miss the Hypnotize, which is normally the highest effect hit. Then it's normally Penny, but it's or Gazelle depending on what team you have in your team. So if you have an AoE person, it would be Gazelle. Probably could go before Elise. So you'll miss the Gazelle, who has high effect hit as well. So it's then just the Penny you're dealing with, who normally has high effect hit, but you normally build her for speed. So you are likely to still get CC'd by CC teams, but you're gonna miss the uncleansable CC, which is very important. Gazelle CC won't do anything. Hypnotize won't do anything. Hypnotize is probably the best one because they normally don't run direct damage, so that normally doesn't get cleansed by the direct damage one. But then obviously Hypnotize is better to get inflicted by that than freeze, because you can cleanse the Hypnotize if someone deals direct damage to you. But you're likely to avoid, in my opinion, Narsil, Gazelle, Elise. You'll get inflicted by Panay's freeze though. So you need to make sure there's either a cleanser on your team who cleanses, like an MJ, or or he has like the ability from Apsara. That's his kit. Now let's talk about kind of what gear you want to run on him. So I've already made a gear set for him. Obviously my gear set won't reach the requirements because I'm not actually going to be able to pull him sadly, but I've done it on Sotra because she's the only one who has the same 3 tags as him. Actually, is that a lie? That may be someone else. Yeah, she's the only one with the same 3 tags. So what I did is I went to preset area where you can make presets, and this is the gear I have at the moment. So we have crit damage primary, oh well, speed primary obviously, but crit damage is the one we roll into. So I like using blues for this because blues there's 2, so if you have crit damage, you're more likely to roll into it than having 4, for example. Here I did not care about the primary. What you want though is you want attack as primary. And then but it's because I rolled 3 crit rate and crit rate 3 times. Because crit rate is kind of the most important stat. I want to try and get that crit rate. Domination, Fangland, so we had crit rate here. Main stat we're looking for is attack rate, speed, attack, and crit damage. So we got 2 out of the 4. And out of them, 3 out of 4 of them got rolled into, so I keep it. Okay, gear wise then. So I think the best gear for him is the wild set, 8% attack rate, 15% crit rate. You can use any set with crit rate in. So if we look here, so you can use the normal basic crit rate set, 15% crit rate. I would advise against using this set purely because it's a 10% crit rate, so you're going to be losing 5% per 2 items you have, so 10% if you have all of that equipped. But then that 10% would be made up by 30% crit damage, which is actually more beneficial because you lose what? You lose 20%. No, it's not 20. You lose 10% crit rate, which is 28% crit damage. So this set is also a good set to use if you have it, but I use that on some of my main things. The reason I like this set is because it has more crit rate and you have 8% crit damage, 8% attack. So you get 16% attack and 30% crit rate, opposed to 20% crit rate and 30% crit damage. Because all this set does is basically it gives him 10% less crit damage and 2% more crit, 10% less crit rate, 2% more crit damage. This set gives you 10% more crit rate, 2% less crit damage, and 16% more attack. So I think the 2% crit damage is worth the crit rate and the attack, in my opinion. So that's why I went for the wild set. You can also justifiably do this set as well if you ever made this set and it has good crit rolls on. You can use this set because it's 15%. And then the last one, I would probably advise against this set because it has mastery, but you can also use this set. So there are kind of 4 sets which have the 15% crit rate you want to use. So obviously Night Set and Filler set are superior to this set because they have additional stats, but they're not superior to this. This is the best set you can have on him, the Wild set. However, obviously, if you can meet the 200% crit rate requirement and the 220% crit damage requirement, you obviously want to roll with your Devour set. I don't actually not check my Devour sets. So this piece is very good for him. That 11%. But if you think about it, so that 11% crit rate, if we're taking off on this, so that 11% means that we're going to be 3%, or that's 12%, let's say 3% down. If we look at the gear piece we have, and then we go back to here, filter, crit damage, excellent. So we look at the gear piece we have there. So we're going to lose this 15%. We gain all this, yes, but we're main stat is crit rate. We need to be able to reach it. So with this gear piece, I'm going to be losing 6.5, 5.5%, 20. I'm going to be losing 9.5% crit rate. The 9.5% crit rate by changing this set. That means that whatever item I change it with, it needs to have 9.5% more crit rate than that current item for it to be viable. So the only one it could really come to is this one, but it's 1.5%, so I lost there. So obviously if you can get good rolls on here, I would say the Vow set you want 5 rolls in crit rate really for it to be amazing. Saying that, this is pretty damn bad roll. I can't compare them sadly. Okay. So that's kind of stat requirement. You want 200% crit rate and 220% crit damage. And then the last thing I'm going to do was going to go look at his Echo and then my opinions off the echo. So there's 2 echoes you can use for him, in my opinion. Actually, more than 2. Do that. Okay, so Souls of Sincerity. You can use this one. So what you won't get is you won't get the top effect. So you get the 24% crit rate. Very important crit rate. You won't get the Wings of Chaos bit. So you won't get any of this actually. Sorry, I misread that. But purely you can use this just for straight 24% crit rate buff. This one you can use it again, 24% crit rate. This one's actually better than this one to use because you get 18% attack. Yeah. This one, not I wouldn't use because it's just 24% crit. Again, it's the same on the same level as Soul Sincerity, but mystery card is the best, and he does replace Jenny. So if you do have a maxed out mystery card, you can just whack it on, and it will be one of the better ones for him. Um, this one is also very good. So you get the crit rate, and then you get 56% crit damage. But again, you probably won't have 2 of these maxed out to 5-star by now. You may do, but you may not. And then, so in my opinion, it'll be in orders for legendary at least. It will be his only if you can reach 200% crit rate, then Marie, then Jenny, and then anyone that has crit primary. Crit rate primary. Okay, so let's read this then. The crit damage 30%. Each time when the owner starts recording the damage taken by enemies, so that is when he casts his resonance ability. Grant self death rattle, so increase skill damage by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12% at 5-star. Deck up to 4 layers, so at 0 stars you go to 8% skill damage. At 5 stars you get 48% skill damage. Only 1 layer can be stacked during each of self turns. So you basically have to enter resonance 4 times for this to get to the max stack, which, calculating it, would take, if you do it the first turn, it would take your turn. The enemy would have to take 2 turns for the buff to drop. Then you would have to get out to 20. So it would take roughly 10 turns, 10 of your turns, or sorry, 10 of. It's a hard one to map because you can basically, if the enemy is mega fast, you could do it every single turn. In theory, if the enemy takes 2 turns, 2 turns, 2 turns, 2 turns, 2 turns. But it wait, this is, I just need to reread it because then it makes, because I was running, it makes this ability here, here, the recorded damage will be settled first, and the effect will be inflicted again. This bit makes no sense because it specifically says when hasten death ends, deduct HP by the same amount of the recorded value from the target, then clears the recorded value and resonance points owned by self. I don't think you can ever cast his ability against someone with hastened death. I may be wrong. Oh no, sorry, I am wrong. I am wrong. So can cast this ability because this ability is replaced when you get max limit. So in theory, you can stay in constant resonance if you can keep hasten death on the enemy endlessly. It doesn't end it here, it settles the damage and then it refreshes it. So you can basically inflict it endlessly and you'll never drop out of resonance. I didn't really catch that, but for that is going to be very hard to do because it's lasting for 2 turns of the enemy's turns, and you need 4 turns to get to cast this ability. So you either would need a lot of turn meter gain in your turn, but again you do reduce their turn meter by 50%, so you're gonna be wanting to cast. So cast this, reduce their turn meter by 50%. It gets to your turn again. Cast this again on that target. So that's 1 turn. They should have had no turns by then. Then they take a turn. So you take a turn. So that was down to 2. That'll be down to 1. Yeah, so you're gonna have to have either some turn meter gain or turn meter reduction from them for this to stay endlessly. But it is doable. It is doable. Okay, and then we were looking at echoes. Okay, so this echo, it won't. Depends. It really depends. It could be you get this maxed out in 12 turns, or it could be more. But 12 turns is well, actually, 9 turns is the minimum if you have cooldown reduction. So if you're Lydia on your team, or you have use the emblem for him, they're like kind of the two main. And then again, so each time he deals resonance damage. So that's when he casts his last special ability. Increases self crit damage by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30%. Stack up to 4 layers. So at max stacks, you have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120% crit damage increase. Very nice crit damage increase. We're seeing a lot of crit damage increase from him. However, there is one echo which I would also recommend, which is easy to get to 5-star and gives him a lot of benefits. So that echo is Exploding Arrow. So they get 16% crit damage if you have it maxed out. 5-star, I have 2 of these at 5-star, so I'm going to have these both at max. So when I enter, I'm going to get 27% crit damage. Very important because that will boost my crit damage up a little bit. So I could get gear what doesn't maybe have crit damage on, but has a crit rate on, and I could afford to only have 193% crit damage, and this will make me to 220% crit damage. So it will alleviate that stat requirement. When they enter a battle, so if their crit rate reaches 150% when they turn ends, which you should have 200% crit rate, increase this to 63%. So we're adding an additional 36% crit damage on, and this is until the wave transitions. So basically for him, you're going to get this when you start, and when you end your turn, you'll get an additional 36. So after your first turn, what this echo will be doing is giving you 16% crit rate and 63% crit damage, which is decent. If we compare that to Marie, she has 24% crit rate and 56 crit damage. You do more crit damage than her. You'll do 7% more crit damage, but you do lose 8% crit rate, which isn't a trade for his kit, isn't a good trade. But being epic to a legendary, I mean a very hard legendary because it's a limited legendary, I would say that in echo terms, the echoes order you'd want to get is if you can reach a 200% crit rate, his echo is the best. If you can't, uh, Spur and Arrow is the best. Then Maurice, Sugarcoated Bullet, and then Jenny, Mysterious Card. But Explode and Arrow would be my go-to echo for him until you can get the crit rate requirement without needing the crit rate from the echo. Okay, so the last bit I'm just gonna show you how that passive works. So do a trial. Let's make sure auto is off. Good. So edit stats. So first stat we want to look at is we want to have this edited to 200%. And I'm gonna edit this to 219%. So you can see no, I did not want to press that. So you can see him only getting 19 resonance stacks here. He didn't get 20, and he will have 499% crit damage. So he's not really, he doesn't enter resonance, he doesn't have this, but if we change it, so we're going to put this down to 220, let's see what happens. Now he has 20 stacks, he's at that 5% we want, and this resonance is activated. What I'm going to do just to make it so he doesn't die instantly. Okay, so then let's look at turn meter. So we'll target on this guy. So what will happen? He has his debuff here, so he's going to be immune to control. So we cast this here, hasten death, and then he'll do his Reaper ability again. Okay, so we do gain the resonance. Okay. So what I'd say now, you just want to keep this guy under lock and key. He's not had a turn yet, or he's may have had one turn. But if we do this, we'll get 5 resonance point. We'll do this again, another 5, and we'll do this again, another 5. So we're back into this. Then we can cast this again, and we repeat the same cycle. And look at those getting all there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we're going to put him at E3. We're not going to use echoes because not everyone has echoes. I'm going to build a team kind of like what I think you want to have his team, what kind of team he'll fit into, and like where he goes. So first person in this team, we'll just do that because he's here. I'm going to say is MJ. MJ is going to be his like first real supporter in the team. Because obviously you have and then what we're going to do, we're going to put this team, we're going to put it against like kind of like the meta direct damage team at the moment. So we have Marie, to Free, Grace, Lydia, Beatrix, and where's Wukong? Sorry, not Grace. Wukong. I'm looking for Sunlit Sega. I'm looking to take this off and put her in. So it's kind of like box standard team you're going to be seeing in PvP a lot. Sometimes you don't have Wukong there. You have Nord or Grace instead. But we're going to have the Wukong there. So what we're going to give for this then is we're going to have first, first, we'll go for the damage inset, go for the stun, we'll go for this to ignore the Okay, so we'll actually try and mirror match first. So we'll try and mirror match, and then I'll do the team I want him to. So we'll basically compare him. What is the damage difference between him and Marie? So I do need to set their abilities. So we'll just do that now. So let's do apply, get rid of you. Okay. And then so his first ability you're going to be doing is this. In a battle. Then we're just going to set some like stats. So I'm just gonna put them all to having him to max this minute. Okay, we're gonna put them all to max so they don't die straight away. So you want 100% crit rate and you 300% roughly. You only want 70% and we'll give you 300. We said you want 200 and 220 and you want 250% affect it. And then we're not gonna change any other stat. We're just gonna leave it the basics here. We're just gonna basically get them to their like stat like there. Because no one's taking a turn, right? No one has skill damage. Good. Okay. Speed wise, we're just gonna leave them. She does need to be the fastest, so we'll do we'll do 3,000. We'll do 2,990. Do 2,000 to 19. No, actually, do 2010. And then he'll be 2,000. Okay, and then we'll mirror the stats on here. So we'll give you 100% crit rate, and then to compensate, we'll give you 400% crit damage because that's normal stats for her. So we said 370, 2010, 2000, 2020, 2990 with 250%, and you're gonna be 3,000. Okay, let me just double check everyone is done correctly. Okay, why are we great? Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna compare stats. Everyone make sure they're right. Okay. And skill damage on everyone is set to 0. Okay, so we're just gonna put this in auto. I will target Maria's target. So that should given, yeah. So for a non-legendary, without any interference, I think the other Marie's team will win. So without any interference, I guess the Wukong did do a lot of damage, and their main 3 damages are here. But we're gonna try that again and just see how it goes. And then what I'll do is I will add the echoes on. See how that if we had the max echoes. Let me just see something. Okay. So it looks like it's gonna be the same outcome. She gets a stun, which then wins the battle. Okay, so we're gonna look at it again, but this time we're gonna have echoes on with their personal echoes. Yeah, we're only gonna have Marie and hang on, what I'm doing, I'm trying to compare like which one is kind of like that overall better in this team, like who basically comes out on top. If you had like a complete mirror match on stats, wow. With the Echo, it seems to be more in the favor of this team, Anze's team. So get his stats now, like 650%. Tenacity through the roof. Oh yes, because it's from she increases tenacity or something, doesn't she? I don't know. But skill damage wise, to it, she does get a lot more faster, but we not killed the Wukong here. Okay, so we got the speed down, we got the stun, so this will be this team winning. So without the echoes, this team won. With the echo, this team wins. So let's try it again, in case it was just a fluke. This time we're not going to target. We're going to see what the AI can do. Okay, so that will basically seals Apazar's death when she takes a turn on their enemy team. That was big damage there. And look, he's already back to his uh resonance ability, which he's gonna use again. So yeah, in the mirror match, complete identical stats other than the two characters who are basically testing against each other. It does seem that he is very, very well fit for PvP. Very well fit. This is obviously in a vacuum. No one's gonna have the same stats, but he does fit in very nicely. Now I want to do against that same team. I want to try a slightly different team. So out of any of those heroes, we're gonna have kind of like the team I feel that he would fit into, or like a team kind of what you could build him around. So obviously he is aimed at being that counter to dot damage, so I will show it against that dot team as well after. But for now, we're just going to do this. We're going to give them basic stats, and then we're going to want so something like this. I feel could be really strong. Let's turn the exclusives down. Save you there. Like this is sort of the team I may run with him, so I can run Lydia with Marie. The reason being is because he does a lot of AoEs, but this isn't a lot of damage, so it could trigger Docara's E3, which will boost the team's turn meter. So it's very. There could be a little bit of synergy between these two because he does a lot of low damage attacks and then he does a massive damage attack. So it could help. Again, I'll reach like the kind of the threshold for these. We do that against that team. Okay, what I need to do is just should be on 0. Okay, just need to check everyone's stats. Lydia should have had 100 and 300. Maybe I didn't do that last time. Yeah, yeah. Put you back to 400 and put you back to 100. Everyone else seems good for that. Okay, and then you need to go back to 220. And he gets a bonus. Oh god, is it 30 from the echo? Oh god, is it 30 from the echo? Yeah, so we'll put him 250. We'll assume the echo comes on. Actually, we'd say 220 and the echo pushes him there. She is gonna be okay. So you're gonna go to 1990. You're gonna have crit rate of 60% and crit damage of 290% with effect resist of 200%. And you can be well to fast-ish. You're gonna have your 70% leech. And we'll give you say 200% mastery. Same with you, we'll give you 200% mastery. Now, she's gonna be busted because of the health here. That's true. I kind of like giving them the health, it doesn't nerf it because she's gonna overperform. She's gonna massively overperform. So what we're gonna do is get anyone who's not health based is gonna set as 2 million. Everyone who's health based, we're gonna half. It's just to keep it in fair balance. Okay, see how that goes. Let me just check stats. Yeah, good, good. Oh, it's from your. So yeah, so it's from the echo. The echo does apply after. Why has everyone got 200% tenacity? Oh, wait, let me just do something. Where is your tenacity? 0. Need to do that. I need to reset this. Your one needs to be 100. 0. This needs to be 200. This needs to be 290. This needs to be 60. All these need to be reset to 0. I wish they like didn't change these. Because that's then we need to do the same for all of these. So yeah, that's a problem there. Okay. And let's just save that to there. Okay, so let's see how these two teams fare. Hey, what we're gonna do is it's gonna replace Docarera with Wukong. Okay. But you can't apply teams. I can't be asked. All the stats are gonna be the same for everyone. 70, 90, 1. Okay. See how it goes. Yeah, so we got ran over by the stuns with this and this. Lydia completely ruined her effect resist, which is actually pretty good counter to be honest to Adkins. But overall, I would say for a non-limited hero, he is very strong. Very strong damage dealer for PvP. He'll buff your team like extremely high. PvE, I would probably say that he's gonna be one of the better PvE heroes. Pairing him with Marie and Apsara versus bosses, those bosses are gonna melt. The only thing is there's not real survivability there, so you're gonna have some survivability on that team as well. So it'll be interesting to see what people come up with. But I would imagine the new meta teams for PvE is going to be something like maybe Anze. So for Wuthering Coast direct team, you have Anze, Marie, Apsara, um, maybe Lydia with the skill damage up, and you get the consolidation, and then have someone like Nordak or Wukong in the providing like the defensiveness of the team. I could see being a good team. Um, anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good day and wish you luck on pools for Anze. Bye.